Hey, what's up, guys? This is Coach Chase Renberg, DFW Penguin Basketball, Penguinhoops.com, and today we are going to talk about why your kid is not coachable. First of all, for my parents that are watching, most of the people that watch my videos are my current parents, so I don't want any of you guys to think I'm talking to you or directing to you, since you got this in the email probably. But I just wanted to talk about this topic because I'm talking to one of my buddies. He has a couple of toddlers that he's raising, and we got on a conversation of where discipline and being coachable starts at. Like, if you want your daughter and your son to be able to be coachable, it starts when they're young. But we're going to get right into my 5 reasons why your kid may not be coachable. Number 1, guys, being coachable starts at birth. It sounds crazy. Having a kid that's coachable, that's willing to take discipline, okay, it starts when they are 1 and 2 years old. Once they start to understand communication, they start to understand words and commands. Even before then, let me get a little bit deep. I don't want to get too deep. Okay, so when your kid is, maybe 2-3 months, okay, maybe around like 6 months, maybe, or a little bit before that, your kid starts to recognize what gets your attention and what doesn't, and what gets a parent's attention when they have a child that's basically a newborn, crying, right? Now, they figure out that when they cry, you come. When they whine, you come, right? What some parents don't understand is, or they don't get, is at a certain point, when they recognize that they can do that, you have to pull that away to a certain extent. Now, I'm not saying abuse your child. What I'm saying is, when you recognize that your kid is whining to get your attention, or whining to get an extra cookie or extra bite of applesauce, you have to check that. There's nothing wrong with wanting to spoil your kid, giving them a lot of stuff that you didn't have, okay? Or just spoiling your kid to death because you love your child. There's nothing wrong with that. What I'm saying is, when you react to your kid, you're not parenting. Your kid is parenting you. If that makes any sense. Go over your head, that's cool. You'll get it later. That's number 1. Discipline, the way you start disciplining your kid early, holding them accountable from birth, okay, for little stuff, whether it be putting up their toys or cleaning up their little area in their room where they play, or whatever it may be, putting on their t-shirt the right way, potty training, things like that. Hold them accountable for going to the potty. All that plays into them being coachable later. Number 2, the second reason why your kid is not coachable is because you've been picking the wrong coaches for your kid. And let me explain. Okay, when you have your kid's first coach, a lot of times, okay, you get a coach that's a dad. And that dad is just, honestly, a lot of times, he's just coaching because he has a son or a daughter on the team, and he just wants to be more involved in their kid's life, or they just want to coach their kid because no one else is around, or they know a little bit about the sport, like, okay, nobody else will coach, I will. And a lot of coaches that are like that, they let a lot of behavioral stuff go away early. So if your kid is in the 1st grade and they're playing soccer, and that coach just lets them do whatever, it doesn't hold them accountable because they're afraid of what other parents may say to them about disciplining their kid. And also, they don't want to ruffle the kid's feathers or they feel like they're mistreating the kid when they discipline them. That is hurting them later on, right? You want to try to pick coaches that are going to hold your kid accountable the first time they start playing sports. It's the same way as you have a teacher that's holding your kid accountable for doing their schoolwork, for completing assignments, things of that nature. Okay, if you have a bad teacher early, a lot of times your kid won't be good at certain subjects, or they won't like school, if that makes sense, right? So it's very important that, especially you guys, you have kids playing for me, they have younger brothers and younger sisters. Make sure that even if you see the coach is letting your kid get away with certain stuff that he normally wouldn't at home, tell the coach, hey, get on my kid's butt. Make them do push-ups when they're not listening. If they mess up on the play, tell them about it, because it will help them in the long run when they get to middle school and high school and things of that nature. When they get a coach that's really on their ass, they'll know how to take it and they'll be able to correct themselves quickly. All right? Number 3, they're not getting better because they don't want to listen. And also, they haven't experienced failure yet. Some kids, a prime example is, let's just say, I don't know, I'll just use a sports term. I was gonna use something different. I'm a kid, and since first grade, I've been the biggest and fastest player on the team, and I average 20 points a game, or I'm the running back on the team. And since the first grade, I've scored 5 touchdowns a game and had about 400 yards every game, right? And I have a coach that's trying to correct me and telling me like, hey, you need to work on your left hand, because when kids figure out that they can stop you from going right and make you go left, you're not going to be able to play as well as you're playing now. And to some kids, when you correct them, if they're having success, they don't want to listen to that. They don't want to hear that, right? It's just like you telling a kid that makes straight A's to study more. It's like, Mom, I got 100 in almost every class that I'm taking. Why do you want me to study more? I don't need to, right? But what you're trying to tell them is, this is working now, but when things get harder and the competition gets tougher, they're going to fail, and they don't believe it. And they don't want to listen. And that stems from the other 2 things. Being able to be coachable since birth, and picking good coaches from the jump. A good coach will know how to handle a kid that is extremely talented, and not just say, okay, well, you're doing good. Since you're the best player on the team, that's good enough. No. That's not how kids get better. That's not how people get better. You push people to do better even when they're already great, right? So until this kid fails at the sport, or fails, makes a bad mistake, or has a really bad game and gets embarrassed, they're not going to hear you, or they're not going to be fully coachable until then. And I've had many kids reach that point to where I'm telling them, hey, you need to work on your left hand, or hey, you need to work on shooting the ball. Like right now you can just drive past guys, but you got to be able to shoot, because you're not going to be 6'7", And then when it starts to catch up, either they get upset and they quit and join another team, and that next coach says the same thing, or they say, hey, you know what, I need to do some more lessons. Let's get some lessons going, coach. Let's do this. I listened to you. I had a really bad game, or I had a really bad tryout, and I made the B team instead of the A team, even though I'm better than everyone on the A team, stuff like that. And when they have those experiences, then it opens up, right? Number 4, which is very, very important, okay? Parents, when a coach tells your kid something to a certain extent, okay? Now, some of us are more talented at reading if a kid or if a coach is good or not. But when a coach is on your kid's butt about something, and you see it at practices, you see it at games, you see the mistake, you see what the coach is pointing out to your kid, okay? And they are trying to correct it. The coach is trying to correct this mistake or correct this flaw. You as a parent have to back them up, okay? Otherwise, your kid will never listen. It will go back to number 3. Okay, you don't want to do that. Not backing up the coach's word. That is number 4. Not backing up the coach's discipline is the reason why your kid is not coachable. When you get in the car on the ride home and your coach is telling, hey, telling your son or telling your daughter, hey, you got to concentrate on free throws. Or, hey, you got to pass the ball to guys up the floor and stop dribbling it. And you get in the car with them on the way home, like, coach doesn't know what he's talking about. Yeah, that kid wasn't going to make the layup anyway. You keep dribbling. And then it's this constant back and forth. One, your kid gets confused, and then two, the coach is the guy that ultimately makes the decision on if your kid plays or not, what position, all of this stuff, if you're going to be playing on their team. If you're going home or you get with your kid and tell them the total opposite, you're basically wasting your time. You need to coach the kid yourself, or you need to get him or her with a coach that is going to do what you think is right, or that's going to coddle your kid and tell them whatever they want to hear. But if you're not backing up the coach and what they're saying and backing up their discipline, it's going to be a rough road for your kid, and they're not going to learn, and later on down the line, it's going to catch up with them. Number 5, and that goes along with number 4. Okay, the number 5 and last reason why your kid isn't coachable is because you're a parent that isn't coachable. What do you mean by that, Tex? I mean that if the coach comes to you, it kind of was the same thing with number 4. The coach comes to you and says, hey, Bobby really needs to work on his left hand. I'm going to send you a video of a workout where they can work on their left hand, right? And you as the parent, you may agree, like, yeah, Bobby really needs to work on his left, right? And then you get home like, I'm not gonna show him this. Or, you just totally disagree with what the coach does all the time. Even when it makes sense, right? Maybe you just don't like the coach's personality, or maybe it could be a number of things. But if you don't believe in the coach, especially at the youth level, when you get to high school and varsity and stuff, it's not a lot of stuff you can control. But if you're playing for a coach or you're playing for a team, a lot of times you, as a parent, you've decided to have your kid on that team. So if you're not coachable, if you can't listen to the coach's suggestions to help your kid out, then what are you on the team for, right? What are you doing? And ultimately, a lot of times parents don't foresee this down the line, but when they get to middle school and high school and varsity and stuff, and they have zero control over their kids' playing time or the say-so or anything, and it's nothing they can do about it. They can't just switch teams, which a lot of kids do. They switch schools. But when you get to a certain point in life where you're not going to switch schools and move because of sports like a lot of people do, you're going to have to eat it up. And you've been teaching your kid that it's okay not to listen to the coach. I'm not going to listen to the coach. We're just going to switch from team to team to team until we find the perfect fit, which it never happens, but we'll talk about that another day. So those are the 5 things right there. Hey guys, listen, if you got anything from this, share this with someone that has a kid that plays sports. I hope some of you guys got something from this, or you listening to it and got some entertainment value from it, but this helps, okay? These 5 things are very important to your kid's future in sports and maybe even in life, with their job that they want or their internship that they want after college or whatever it may be, all right? I will see you guys later.